Man, yesterday during Dark MAGA, I was fired up because if you weren't with us listening to these reporters, and I'll put that in air quotes actually, because they're activists, listening to their questions. And then when Stephen Miller was on that podium, as clear as a human being could possibly be in answering their questions, they still could not grasp the concept that if the product is produced here, there wouldn't be a tariff on the product. It was an astonishing thing to watch. And it really got under my skin. So if you were with us yesterday, I hope you enjoyed the spiciness of the show because there's a lot of cussing. There's a lot of craziness. But it needed to be said nonetheless. Patriots, it's Friday. It's Friday. And by the way, did this week go by faster for everybody else? Because I felt like this week zoomed on by. I cannot believe it's Friday. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who sped up time, but they need to slow it down. Slow it down. I want to slow down because, guys, we only get 3.5 more years of Trump. Not enough time. I need more. I need more. I'm being greedy. It is really good to see all of you patriots in the chat. I was going to say you guys, but you patriots in the chat. We have a goal set up. Please don't feel like you have to do it, but we have a goal set up really quickly for 5 super chats to come in. If we do 5 super chats with the last however many minutes of the show, I will do a Q&A session. So for those that donate, put the dodos in. I will answer your questions at the end of the show. Very similar to what we already do. Normally, you guys make statements with your super chats, but if you want to ask a question or just donate, anything is appreciated and helpful. Don't feel like you have to. It's just there for those that are able and feel like they would like to. So with that being said, we have this here. We have a jobs report here where Stephen Moore is reacting to it. I don't know. It looks funny. Like, can I just show you what I see? He just like, what the fuck? Is this real? So here we go. Let's check this out.
436,000 increase in the number of people who are employed. So this is an amazing report. The number of people, the labor force participation rate rose. So this is a really strong number. I wanted to mention one other quick thing. You know, about 2 weeks ago, every headline, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post, was, oh, the stock market is crashing. And since then, the market has been up, what, like 2,800 points.
Yeah,
so,
well, you don't see that
and by the way, I don't see headlines about that.
That was the point. That was the point that Scott Bessent made. Yeah, Scott Bessent made the same point yesterday. That, you know,
exactly, he made that point. But 400
like, dude, let her talk. It's her isn't it her show? But yeah, there's a point being made that things are good. You guys, the job number, DOGE is doing honestly, actually everything is working the way that it's supposed to, which is, I can't believe I'm even saying that about government, but everything is actually starting to function. Trump is re-greasing the gears. You have DOGE cutting their spending, which we'll get to in one moment, I promise. You have the illegals not getting the jobs. You have the foreign workers not getting the jobs. But like we saw yesterday from Stephen Miller, it is the American people, the American citizen, that are getting these jobs. Joe Biden's numbers were inflated, both literally and metaphorically. And what I mean by literally is that they lied about the job numbers when Joe Biden was in office. Remember how they would come out with, say, like the April numbers like we have here, but then 2 months later, they would come back and say, oh, yeah, we accidentally put in an extra zero. We got to drop this by 180,000. And when I say metaphorically, what I mean is those jobs that were created under Joey weren't for Americans. They were vastly for foreign workers. So it's very manipulative of what that last administration did, really slimy, but we're used to crap like that. Oh, yeah, we are. Well, big time, because that's what Democrats do. They're slimy. They're scummy. The swamp is thick and stinky. Here's another report.
Jobs report for April hitting the wires. Non-farm payrolls A greater 177,000. We're expecting, as Joe pointed out, 133,000. 177,000 would be the second best of the year outside of what's in the rearview mirror. The job.
That's crazy, man. So jobs report. By the way, this is breaking. This is happening like right now. This is huge news. This is great news. This is honestly what we needed, especially after all the tariffs talk, especially after everything that's been going on regarding negotiations, Ukraine and Russia. You know, Trump's trying to navigate this field. By the way, that was all set up by Joey. I know a lot of people always try to spin things to have Trump in a positive light. It is true that Trump did inherit quite a few things that were out of his grasp in terms of controlling. And now he's trying to inject himself into it so that he's able to control it. And like I said, grease the wheels, get things figured out. You also have former Toys R Us. Remember Toys R Us with what was the giraffe's name? Was it Jared or something? I miss Toys R Us. Inflation as a whole has largely been driven by too much government spending and not enough supply. Correct. But also that the government was bloated, which I guess could go towards spending as well. But the fact, again, the titles today is DOGE has cut billions of dollars, and that's exactly what needs to be done. Government was never supposed to be this big. That's not what the founders wanted. I mean, hell, back with even the original Constitution, right? When they first met together, they didn't want this. You had the anti-federalists and the federalists early on. And it was kind of flipped where you had the nationalists, which wanted a certain government, and the nationalists turn into the federalists, where the nationalists were going up against the anti-nationalists, basically. So if I confused you, the names actually flip-flopped, but the agenda basically was what we have today in today's government, in the sense of all three branches of government have checks and balances. They all hold the same power, whereas when we originally created our government, it wasn't like that. The legislature had actually most, if not all, I don't say all the power, but most of the power. So nowadays, we've bloated government. They're spending our money. And you know what? They're stealing our money. Let's just call it what it is. Is it Joffrey? Okay. I thought it was Jeffrey. Well, I appreciate you, Robert. Thanks for making me look stupid. Oh, God, I love you guys. But thank you. Yeah, it is Joffrey. Is it Joffrey? Is that how I'm saying that? Like that little crap kid from Game of Thrones? Well, here's the 2-year treasury yield. And this is the big one, the 10-year one.
Inflation as a whole has largely been driven by too much government spending and not enough supply. That will be remedied as we look to the future. Agricultural products are already in line. The tariffs are too insignificant. I know this sounds funny to say, but too insignificant in the size of the overall economy to be a major driver of inflation. We're going to be in great shape as we round the corner towards the holidays.
Yeah.
Inflation is.
I mean, numbers, guys, again, this is all breaking this morning. These are very, very good numbers. This is 2 months in a row of good numbers. Now, is it going to stay? We have to see. I don't know if Trump's going to be jumping on the train of doing a victory tour here. I don't think right now is the time to be doing that, but there's a lot of CEOs and others that are coming out that are saying, look, welcome to the golden age. Look what's going on. Trump was right. I think it's still too early to tell. There's a lot of maneuvers, a lot of negotiations, but there is the potential that things could go up. Now, that was the April numbers, which is great. I keep emphasizing this. Those April numbers, Patriots, was when all these things were happening. And I even said myself, let's wait and see what these numbers look like. I didn't think they would be this good. I'll be honest. I did not think they would be even remotely this good. And I want to point something out. Neither did the Trump administration. Neither did the Trump administration. That is why the numbers, if you heard them quote, well, we expected this, far exceeded their own expectations. So great job on the administration. Great job on companies and corporations, everybody working together in America to make America great again. And also, let's pray for our brother Jeff in the chat. He's going through a massive storm, a bleep storm where he's at. He said, we had a huge storm come through Tuesday and still no power. We had 90-mile-an-hour winds. Pray for him. Pray for everybody in his area. Power of prayer is effective, Patriots. And, it's not something that the left can really say. That's really restricted to basic. I mean, there's Democrats that are obviously religious, but definitely the Republicans, the conservatives, we're very faithful people. We try our best to be good Christians, Catholics, or whatever faith that you may follow. Let's pray for our friend here, Jeff. And if you ever need prayer requests, anybody, throw them in the chat. There's a lot of people here. We get thousands of people that watch the show. Throw those prayer requests in the chat or the comment section for my channel. And maybe we could start that kind of movement of doing prayer requests. So there's that for you as well. We have this where I believe this is the CEO of, oh God, who's the CEO of? ER Shares, I think, or something like that. Here we go.
It's interesting. The numbers, by the way, were very, I was a little surprised to see how strong they were, but this is very encouraging because we're already seeing many of the companies dependent upon foreign suppliers already reshoring some of their jobs. In fact, I talked just recently to a couple of entrepreneurs who are getting off their China dependency. They are going to other Southeast Asia companies for their supplies, and they're starting to look at domestic manufacturers. So they're putting orders in already for the third and fourth quarter for this. So what's interesting, the numbers, by the way, were very...
So numbers are looking really good. And look, he's just emphasizing what we're emphasizing here, is that the numbers are better than expected. Now, is this what is the expectation going forward? I'm not exactly sure, but people are really enjoying it nonetheless. Now, there was an interview yesterday between Jesse Waters of Waters World and Elon Musk that was talking about Doge. And this is an interview where Elon Musk was looking back at the first 100 days of what Doge did, but also previews the future of the long-term enterprise. Now, I don't know what he means by long-term because Doge is set to expire on July 4th, 2026. Can I also say something here that I whenever I think about it, I get goosebumps. It sucks. I don't know if you guys can see that. My whole body gets goosebumps because we get to celebrate this with Trump. What is it? Our 250-year anniversary or something like that as a country. We have some huge celebration coming up, and we are lucky enough to have one of the most patriotic presidents in American history with us doing it. I am so stoked about that celebration. It's gonna be like, think of, how we always have fun doing our rallies here on the Ball Brad channel. We'll stream them and we'll hang out together, or we do like, big Trump events, like we'll do the speeches and everything and everybody has a blast. Like, dude, we have a freaking, if you don't join us when there's like huge events, you have to, man. I'm telling you, we have a riot in our channel. We have nothing but fun. That is going to be like Trump rally mixed with the speeches, mixed with like slapping the media around on like ecstasy and steroids. It's going to be bonkers. So anyways, I can't wait for that. Now, that was a little bit of a tailspin. We're coming back to Doge because Doge is set to expire in, I think, 2026. So as President Donald Trump marked his 100th day in office on Tuesday, the Department of Government Efficiency said it is going to cut and has cut at least $160 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. While the department has made several high-profile cuts, which is what the media loves to talk about, during the Trump administration's first 100 days, Doge head Elon Musk shared that Trump's cost cutting is just getting started. This was the conversation of he's cut. It's actually more than 160 billion. Right now, for sure, it's $200 billion. The debt clock that we always show here on the channel is exceeded that. But the question is, can this trend continue? Can this level of cost cutting really continue moving forward? Or did we kind of see, I guess in a phrase, Elon Musk blow his load early and this is it? It's a long-term enterprise, Musk said during an exclusive interview Thursday on Jesse Waters World Primetime. Because if we take our eye off the ball, the waste and fraud will come rolling back. Well, that's the fear that I have. And I think this is something that I'm not quite sure what should be codified into law with Congress, but this type of, I would say honestly that if we don't pass an audit, everybody in Congress should be fired. Like, there needs to be something on that level to where if we're found to be doing something fraudulent with Congress, there needs to be a lot more consequences to this thing. Like, you need to be let go. You aren't able to run. How about you're not able to run for re-election? The problem I don't like with that one is that, well, now that you're not going to be able to run for re-election, you might as well do whatever the F you want and really screw things up. So I think you should be escorted out by the sergeant at arms and peace out. See you later. You're no longer in Congress. You wanted to F around? Well, now you can find out. If you think it's fun and cute to do trans surgeries on mice or send $59 million in condoms to Mozambique or do Sesame Street in Iraq, if you think that's cute and fun, well, you could do it with your own money then by sitting your ass outside the Capitol because you're no longer allowed back in. Waters joined Musk and several team members at the DOGE headquarters, including Big Balls. That's a code name, by the way, who revealed the story behind his nickname and detailed his work rooting out fraud and waste. I also want to make sure I get to Jason's $5 with the looks like a cross and a prayer. So he'll be offering up that $5 in prayer to the Lord, but also to the Bald Brad channel. So thank you so much. But I appreciate you, Jason. Jason's always contributing to the show, as is everybody else. I want to make sure that I always leave that in. And yes, just the tip. That is right. You have here the DOGE minds elaborated on more shocking discoveries from the department's first months during Jesse Waters primetime. With no plans of slowing down, DOGE has made a number of consequential and controversial cuts in recent months. One of the most talked about DOGE targets in Trump's first term was spending with the USAID, which was just completely needed. It was fraudulent. It was wasteful. And that was part of the climate change, putting all forward that bogus stuff that everybody was looking at of why are we spending this kind of money, blah, blah, blah. So we'll get to a few clips there. But if you haven't already, always support your guys'. Hello? My brain's not working. Always appreciate your guys' support. Really love that. Now, we talked about this last show, but I do want to point out once again that the Treasury went live with its automatic payment system. This is one of the biggest things and revampings I have seen in government in terms of creating efficiency with spending our money. In total, just last week, for 7 days, $334 million in improper payment requests were identified and rejected. That was just for 1 week. That just should give you a glimpse of how disgusting and swampy Congress is in spending our money. And these people, these bureaucrats that don't give a two about how your money's spent. It's always easy spending somebody else's money, right? They don't have to work for it. They're just the ones that are cutting the checks, and it's an endless flow of it. Nobody's going to know. We don't have to put codes next to these distributions, next to these line items. We don't need to connect it to any budget. We can print money, or we could just tax people more and just really grind them into the ground. They're already being screwed because of Joey, but let's screw them even more. You also have, in the past 3 weeks, the USAID terminated 420 wasteful grants totaling. Are you sitting down for this? Did you pull over? Do I read you this number? You might get in a car accident. $2.5 billion with a B in award value and $2.3 billion in savings, including $150,000 for gender-lensed curricula designed to be transdisciplinary. Wow. I bit my tongue in my sleep. That's why I'm slurring my words. Disciplinary in the food, agriculture, natural resources, and human sciences. And by the way, I'm dead serious that I bit the crap out of my tongue in my sleep last night. Right here. And it hurts. That's why I sound like this. I sound like Joey. Can I just fall asleep on stream? Or just stop talking like Mitch McConnell? We also have $100,000 for climate resilience, whatever the hell that means, and sustainable agriculture in Ghana. It's not funny. Let's be fair. It is not funny. But for the sweet life of baby Jesus, this is what they're doing. $361,000 for gender non-conforming, non-binary, two-spirit BIPOC farmers in New York. This is what Congress thinks is important. This is what Congress thinks you want your money being spent on. Unbelievable. Look at this. Senator Johnny Ernst details some of the insane spending from USAID. $2 million for Moroccan pottery classes. It's so crazy that when somebody posts something like this, it is so outlandish and crazy. You almost want to say this is not real, but it is. You almost want to take a moment like there's just no way. There's no way, like somebody put this on a Word doc and just posted the image of it on X, but no, this is real. $2 million promoting tourism in Lebanon. $20 million for a Sesame Street show in Iraq. Sending Ukrainians to Paris Fashion Week. $9 million to feed Syrians ended up in terrorist hands. Go figure. $1 million for risky research in a Wuhan lab. Just throwing out money. Forget it. Where can we find it? Pete Hegseth said they found like, well, how much was it yesterday? He said, was it $6 billion? I think it was $6 billion in complete waste in the DOD. And he said, well, we're going to take that money, but we're going to reinvest it and actually do what it's supposed to be utilized for, which good. It was already allocated that way anyways. It's not like we're losing money. We would have lost money if it was allowed to be spent improperly. But now that we have people in there that have their heads on straight, they're just average Joe Americans. Remember how everybody's, well, they weren't in government their entire life. They don't know what they're doing. They're not qualified. Neither was any of the founding framers. Jesus, Brad, wake up. Hello. It's Friday. See, that's the problem with doing a morning show. I'm still not fully awake, but you love me and I love you. We'll get over it. The founding framers weren't qualified either, but they still got the job done and created the best country that's ever existed. You want to know who wasn't qualified? Clearly Joey wasn't. And Joey was in government his entire life. So that's not exactly something to be bragging about. Furthermore, you have this happening here where I'm not losing sleep over $7 eggs. I'm furious that USAID is laundering my tax dollars to media outlets to pump out propaganda. Yes, Crazy Vibes is getting it. Yes, sir. Politico, us together, we're paying Politico $34.3 million. The New York Times, the garbage. These are all garbage. $50 million. The Associated Press, almost $20 million. Reuters, $9 million. $3.3 million to the BBC. These aren't journalists. We saw them yesterday. They're not journalists. These people ask stupid questions. Like really, really stupid questions. And it really makes you wonder, are they able to not listen and hear Trump's or Stephen's questions? So let me find it here for you. There was a lady early on that asked the question, and it looks like on this one, they don't show it, but let me pull it up on my end then from a different angle. There was a reporter that asked the question, and she could not, for the life of her, grasp the concept that if you build here, you're not going to end up getting the tariff because you built here. And I don't know what it was. I don't know what was wrong with her. I don't know if she was kicked in the head a few too many times, but it was rough to watch. So let me see if I can find it for all of you while we're going to the chat real quick. So Democrats, Republicans approved all that crap. Yes, it's both of them. That's the frustrating thing. But here, it's not that You can obviously blame Republicans because they're a part of Congress. They are part of the problem as well. But the other problem was this idea that these spending packages, nobody reads them. There's so many pages that I'm trying to get to the question here. I'm trying to find the lady. Like, there's so many pages that nobody's actually reading where our money is going, basically. So there's that. But they're both to blame. So I'm trying to get to this reporter here. Forgive me. I'm having to actually do it long form. So I think this is it.
Stephen, this morning GM is putting a dollar figure on how much the president's tariffs will impact the company. The CEO says tariffs will cost GM between $4 and $5 billion this year. The CEO of Ford says he can't commit to not raising prices because of tariffs. Is the administration open to doing more to give automakers relief?
The question, unfortunately, misses the entire point, which is that
Again, what I want you to focus on is listen to how clearly this dude answers this question, and just, it's going to drive you up a wall with this lady. Watch.
U.S. automakers have announced dramatic investments and expansions inside the United States. American auto plants are growing, they are expanding, they're opening new facilities, they're expanding existing facilities that are already in operation, because it is now the case that for the first time in our lives, that American cars receive preference in America's markets. The U.S. auto industry used to control the entire world. I believe the number during the heyday was that 70% of all cars in the world were made in Michigan. And now, of course, we've become a tiny fraction of the global market. And the reason for that is because the United States opened its markets to every single foreign cheater and every single foreign nation that subsidized its goods on the face of the earth, and their markets have been closed to ours. Japan closed their market to our cars. The entire EU closed their market to our cars. South Korea closed their market to our cars. All of the countries I just mentioned have tens of billions of dollars of annual trade deficits in automobiles with the United States. These are supposedly pure nations, nations that have at least a somewhat equivalent per capita GDP. So it is impossible under the terms of fair trade, if you have two nations with similar per capita GDP, to have such uneven trade flows in automobiles. What the president has done with his car tariff, we have the most desirable market in the world, is if you want to sell cars tariff-free, tax-free to our market, your plant has to operate in the United States. The only alternative to that is to have no U.S. automobile industry whatsoever, which is where this was headed, to be clear. If we stayed on this current path, within a few years, there would have been no U.S. automobile industry. And what little was left of it would have been in Mexico. Because U.S. auto companies have steadily been shifting their supply chains to Mexico, where they believe it is cheaper to make their products. In reality, it'll be cheaper to make them here because there'll be no tariff for anything made in the United States, and we'll have the cheapest energy and the best regulatory environment in the face of the earth.
But in the meantime, while
Okay. The dude was... basically, he brought everything down to a middle school level. If you build it, like she's like, "What is wrong with you, lady?" She's like, "Are you serious? You don't get that? Are you stupid?" Yes, she is. And watch.
manufacturing ramps up, American consumers may pay more. Do you agree?
Not on cars they won't, because again, there's now a massive economic incentive for automobile producers to expand production in the United States, and whatever they make here, there will be no tariff.
We'll go to the back row. Go ahead.
Thank you, Carol.
And by the way, it's not just her. Ouija, Peter Alexander. I mean, the whole front row here. Like, he's still trying to figure it out. Huh? What? What? Huh? Yes, if the labor is brought back here and auto manufacturing takes place, let's say in Michigan, right? Michigan used to be a hot spot, a hotbed for manufacturing automobiles. The American worker is a lot more expensive than, say, a Mexican worker or a Chinese man or a Chinese woman, doesn't matter. So in theory, yes, it would be more expensive for the vehicle here. But the thing is that you have to look at everything in totality. One, if they build it here, there wouldn't be a tariff on the vehicle that she's referring to in the entire front row, meaning that component of it wouldn't make the vehicle more expensive. it would be the labor and all the regulations and the red tape that is going into building said vehicle. But when you have the cost cutting of what's taking place, when you lower inflation through the use of cost cutting and also building here back in America, that might inflate it slightly. We'll see. But specifically through DOGE of giving everything back to baseline, not having high interest payments, getting the interest rate down so that you can actually afford a vehicle, like taking Trump's plan in holistic viewpoint, along with these corporations that build here. He said, if you build here in America, you get a pretty big tax cut that'll be implemented for you as a corporation or an entity that you can utilize. So all these factors, when they go into play, it might either break even or be slightly cheaper to just buy an American vehicle with all the incentives and the holistic viewpoint of what's taking place. If you have more money in your pocket, and even if something is more, well, now you have more purchasing power with your dollar because inflation is a lot lower than what it was before. But now you also have more money in your pocket. So not only do you have more money, but the dollar's more powerful. So you could buy a more expensive product. And I don't know what it is. I really don't know, but completely baffled. Completely just, oh, what? It was frustrating, man. It was so frustrating for me to watch. Again, the question was specifically surrounding the tariffs and automobiles being more expensive. So he answered it. She couldn't grasp it. She couldn't wrap her head around it. And DOGE is cutting. And one thing else they can't grasp around, again, because our title today is talking about DOGE and the fraud and all the crippling effects the government has done, along with going over the Friday news. They can't wrap their heads around what DOGE is doing and why it's so important. And how do you explain it to somebody that, hey, in the same way that you would have to budget with your wife or your spouse or by yourself every single month so that you're not overspending and driving yourself into debt, you can only spend what you have. For example, I'm going to be really stupid really quick, but it's still an example that's going to work. Can I eat a cheeseburger right now? There's no cheeseburger in my room. There's nothing. Can I have a cheeseburger, Patriots? I'm being as serious as I can. There's no cheeseburger in here. There's not even a cheeseburger wrapper. Right now, this moment and instant, can I eat a cheeseburger? The answer is no. Why? Because it doesn't exist. I don't have it. If you don't have money, how can you buy something? And the answer, sadly, to a lot of people is, well, I got a credit card. I'll borrow it. That is not the correct way of thinking. It's actually a terrible way of thinking. You should be saving up for the thing that you want to buy. I know, a novel idea, but we don't do it anymore because we want that instant gratification. God forbid we work for a year or two to buy something. You want to know this? I have the same laptop from a decade ago that I use. Could I save up and buy a new laptop? Absolutely. Is the thing slow? Absolutely. I wrote an entire book on it and it was driving me through the freaking wall because the thing it can't, put it this way, it can't even load my book anymore, my Trojan horse book. That's why I have to write my book on this computer that I'm on here. Now, that's not saying, well, me. What I'm saying is that I wouldn't go put a new laptop on a credit card. Actually, my credit card's not even activated. You would save up for it. But they can't wrap their head around accountability. The Democrats can't wrap their head around transparency and the complete rationale of why DOGE should and is doing this. It's an unbelievable thing.
One of the crazy things with regards to the Treasury is that when a payment is made, and the computers at the Treasury actually pay about $5 trillion per year, like crazy amounts, there was formerly not a budget code on there. So if a payment was made, you didn't know actually what it was for. It could have been for anything. Yeah. There was a $4 billion COVID fund in the Department of Education, and there was no receipts required, so people could just draw down on it. And when people looked into it, this wasn't us, this was before us, they found that money was being used to rent out Caesar's Palace for parties, rent out stadiums, et cetera. And so the one change that DOGE made with Department of Education is we had the simple requirement that if you draw down money, you must first upload a receipt. That was the only change that was made. You must upload your receipt. And upon doing
Now, some people have never worked in the corporate world. I have. I know Jeff has. Q is still doing a law. Also, some of you are in the corporate world. You are allowed to expense certain things. Like if I was to go out to lunch way back when I was an accountant with like a CFO, CEO, doesn't matter, maybe the controller, and I purchased lunch, like I bought lunch, what I can do is take that receipt and apply to my firm to have that given back to me because it was money that was spent on behalf of the firm, but I'm the one that put it on my card. Now, this is slightly different, but what they're doing is they are spending the money however they see fit with no code whatsoever, no receipt, no proof, no nothing. Folks, do you know how many this has been going on since my grandparents were alive? Can you imagine we're already doing it with trillions, but you are talking about trillions of dollars that were just gone through the course of 50, 60, 70 years, almost 100 years. This has been going on. And by the way, Democrats want to make government bigger. They want to give them more power, the government. They don't know anything. They weren't even giving receipts. They weren't even doing the basic things that we all do.
Doing so,
yes,
nobody drew down any money anymore.
Yes, but we didn't say that we'd check the receipt. You could send a fake receipt. You could send a picture of your dog. Anything. And but as soon as we asked for anything at all, suddenly the requests were like, oh, we don't need it anymore. Huh, that's interesting.
They were renting Caesar's Palace.
It's crazy.
Yes, they were like basically partying on the taxpayer money.
Stadiums.
Yes.
Leasing.
The next step to this is I'm getting fired up. I'm getting fired up right now. It is such a pet peeve of mine that's why I always use myself as an example because I don't want to be a hypocrite. I'm frugal as I possibly can be. I don't buy anything. My friends know I'm a cheap ass. I'm known to be that. I want to see people go to jail for this. Prison. Or if they want to get out of that, pay it back. This idea of, oh, well, hey, they rented out Caesar's Palace. Well, on your money. I want to see consequences for these people. They stole. That's illegal. They did something wrong here. Track them down, fire them, and then I want the cameras there throwing them in jail. And then I want to take the camera and go, this is my camera. Why did you decide to spend money that way, you idiot? And then what's the question we always ask them? What's the question anytime we do reporting, folks? You're on boots on the ground and you're sitting there with the camera and the microphone. What? Who do you vote for? Who did you vote for? That's the question you always ask that nobody does. Who did you vote for? Because if you voted for Democrat, I don't want to hear any of your bitching, moaning, and complaining. Who did you vote for? Exactly. Jeff says, I agree. It's embezzlement of taxpayer dollars, period. They need to go to prison.
Leasing
stadiums.
For what?
For parties, basically.
For parties?
Yes.
That's a big party.
It's a big party.
You'd think if you were stealing, you'd start small.
They do start small. But then what happens is over the years, so generally the fraud starts out small and they try to hide it. But then year after year, if nobody stops the fraud, it gets more and more brazen. And every year it gets bigger until they're literally renting out stadiums.
What's that, $1 million to rent out a stadium?
Fraud in flagrante delicto, okay? We're talking at scale.
This is driving me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
When you find these things, do you guys get mad? You're like, yes, I got one. How does it make you feel?
It's so common.
It's so common. You're like used to it.
I mean, you just get so numb to it.
Unfortunately, like the 100th time you've heard it, it's hard not to get a little numb.
Yeah.
But and by the 200th time, you're like, well, okay. It's just another day at the office.
Wow. Basically, you become you become desensitized when you see something all the time, and it just is so normal. You're like, all right, yeah. I mean, well, what else? Well, that's what you expect. And Strawberry says it perfectly here. This is what is so frustrating. So many people act like essential programs are being cut. They just can't fathom that the money wasn't actually being used for the intended purposes. 100%. Again, what you've seen here is culture changes over time. And by the way, culture takes a long time to change. And that's why we have seen that we've established a culture, and now we're trying to go back to what we used to be, what we ought to be, of being frugal with how the government spends money. The government is not supposed to be spending money lavishly like we have been doing, but we rely on government now for everything. Whereas before, you used to rely, and I always go back to this, on the way that things were established in this nation, in this great nation of ours, was that you first go to your family member in a time of need, or if you need something and you don't have money for something. And that's where you get your loan from. That's where you start borrowing money, is from a family member. Now, you shouldn't do that, just a heads up, but that's where you would start. And then if they don't have it, well, you used to go back to your community. We used to know our neighbors. We used to have our neighbors over for barbecues, and you used to know them. You walk over, hey, I don't have sugar, but my kids want to make some cookies. You know that cliche, you go over to neighbors, you ask them for a couple eggs, or hey, do you have a cup of sugar? I don't have any. I don't want to go all the way to the store. Nobody does that anymore. And then from there, you go to your local faith. You go to your local synagogue, your church, or whatever it may be, and you ask them if you can receive some help of whatever it may be. And then from there, you go to your local mayor. You actually go to your city council. And then from there, then you go to the state level. The federal government is the last and end all be all. And by the way, even that should be drastically limited, but we don't do that anymore. What does it matter? It's somebody else's money. Who cares? We don't need to bat an eye over it. Not a big deal. Now, Elon Musk is here confirming that Doge is here to stay, and they're not taking their eye off the ball.
Long-term enterprise.
It's a long-term enterprise because if we take our eye off the ball, the waste and fraud will come roaring back.
They can Doge when
Yes.
Democrats get back in power.
Yep. We're trying to have it be such that the funding is removed, so the grants are gone. So there's a lot of work required to restart the waste and fraud.
Do these people not respect taxpayer money?
I mean, there's no incentive to if you work in the government.
Correct.
I think the incentives will always decide the outcomes.
Yes.
And, the way that the payment system is set up is if you ask for money, you're just going to get it.
Wow.
There's a law.
God, what a stupid teenager. The guy doesn't know what he's talking about. This is what the left was saying. Their heads are so far up there, you know what? They don't know what it is. And honestly, it's Trump derangement syndrome is what it is. And Elon Musk is one of the most consequential entrepreneurs in American history, by the way. He dropped what he was doing to save this country at a great personal cost, and he should be applauded for it. And this is exactly what Scott Jennings was saying on CNN about Elon Musk and what's going on over there with Doge and the great things that he's doing.
I actually spoke to a member of the cabinet today, and I asked him point blank.
Was it Elon?
Well, I did talk to Elon today, actually.
Right, yes.
But I spoke to a member of the cabinet, and I said, how has the DOGE effort gone in your particular department? I'm just curious. And he said something very interesting to me. He said, apart from all, the press focuses on the programs and the grants and all that, and that's sexy. But, he said the most interesting thing that these guys have been able to do for us is we inherited a massive backlog of things that the previous administration left us, and we were unable to really deal with it because of IT issues. And he said, these guys showed up over here, and they made a huge impact on our IT infrastructure, which then allowed us to clear out a backlog of outstanding issues that we were just having trouble getting to.
So wait, this is now an IT issue? No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. America wanted to see actual cuts, and now we're going to say
that. No, he just said they don't. Which is it?
No, I'm saying most Americans actually did want to see.
He's mad about the cuts.
Okay, well, I'm talking as Gretchen Carlson. I'm not talking as Dave.
A person who has
I'm
a
my own
different point
individual.
of view. She's
and
allowed
most
to have
Americans
that.
would agree that they want to get rid of fraud and waste.
Yes.
And now you're saying that the greatest accomplishment of
I'm
DOGE
saying it's an
was that they've solved IT problems?
And I spoke to another cabinet secretary yesterday.
They literally did solve IT problems. We were just talking about it for like the last 5 minutes, that now you have to include a code, and they revamped the system so that you have to be approved of what your spending was. So you're not buying it on Caesar's Palace or, renting out a stadium or doing something fraudulent that you shouldn't be doing. But I always love bringing you the receipts. She can't, for the life of her, because of Trump derangement syndrome, wrap her head around it. And I will always say this, and I know I'm repeating myself. Please, I'm very self-aware. It is mind-blowing to me that these people just can't get it. And I don't know if it's I don't know if they were kicked in the head as a kid. I don't know if they've hit their head too many times against the wall. I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know if they went on a roller coaster too many times and their head was rattling around. If you ever want to feel like you are a genius, watch the progressive left. God, they will make you feel like you are smart, way smarter than what you really are. She is like dumbfounded. Look at her face. Am I close?
Yesterday, who said this has been a quote wonderful accelerant.
So what?
This continues.
Politicians
the program
say
continues.
whatever they say to be able to put on a good face.
Why are you so angry?
I'm not angry. I'm frustrated.
I mean, you look enraged.
I'm frustrated like most Americans because we want to know where the cuts are.
Gretchen, let me just hit pause here. I mean, look. People get worked up at this table,
yes.
yourself included, all the time. Let's not call people angry when they're simply making a point.
Well, she's very upset.
Like I just have to say that because I think that
you're blaming it on IT.
Let's deal with.
I'm not blaming anything. I'm saying it was a good byproduct.
Scott and Gretchen, just give me 1 second, okay? Let's deal with the issues at hand. We don't have to, say you're angry. You're, this. She's just making a point, okay?
Thank you.
Scott's face. Yeah, dude, isn't he a treasure? Isn't Scott one of the greatest finds? I love him. I really do. Oh, God. He's like I said, he's a saint. God, he's one of the best. Let's actually go to CNN just for a little bit. Let's have some fun. Let's move away from Doge slightly. And let's just kind of get into a little bit of the shenanigans over at CNN. So we have here where calling President Trump a dictator for the past 4 years put him back in the White House decisively, I might add. This comes from Scott Jennings as well. We always love showing Scott Jennings clips because he triggers the libs and the psychos. And remember how she's allegedly, still this floors me, Anna Navarro is allegedly a conservative. I think I have that correctly. She claims to be of the so-called right. I'm not sure if that's true. I might be getting that wrong. But what?
He campaigned on that he was going to be a dictator. Guess what? He's living up to what he promised, to be a retribution to act as a dictator. Oh,
come on, Anna. He did not promise to be a dictator.
He didn't promise retribution?
He didn't. You just said he promised to be a dictator. Are
those
you
were
still,
his
are you
exact
still
words,
going with this?
Scott, those were his. I'm
You
quoting
still
him.
don't get it. All these months later, the left still doesn't get it.
Listen, he campaigned.
It's been so long since we've seen like a real dictator like go to war with one that the left doesn't know what it is anymore. They remember a large majority of Americans of 18 to 34-year-olds have no idea that the Holocaust even happened. They're not educated well enough on it. And by the way, if you want to know how sadistic some of these people are nowadays that are learning about the Holocaust, they'll laugh in front of your face as you're covering it. And if you think I'm exaggerating, ask any teacher. You will always have students in these public education systems that talk when you're describing the Holocaust, how like millions of Jews were starved and experimented upon and put in gas chambers and then turned to ash to the point where it looks like it's snowing outside. They will start laughing because they think it's funny. And by the way, I don't teach history. Not only have I seen it when I've substitute or walked in other people's classes, but when you're walking around campuses and public education, you hear what students say all the time. And sometimes you don't have to walk around. It'll just bounce off the walls into your room. And you will hear them laughing about the most sadistic stuff. And one of them I hear quite often is, in fact, World War II, the Holocaust, and all that stuff. So really, really crazy things. Scott here is talking about Marco Rubio and how he's basically a star right now. And this is something I keep emphasizing, and which is why I want to show the clip, is Marco Rubio is probably one of the sleepers for me. And what I mean by that is I don't want to say I didn't have any faith in Marco Rubio, but the guy, and maybe because my expectations were so low, has completely exceeded my expectations. Marco is one of the top guys in that administration. I would say he's up there. He might be the top cabinet member for me. You have Pete Hegseth in there, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard. I think I got to say that a cabinet member, right? Elon Musk is an advisor. He's not a cabinet member. I would say Marco Rubio is the number one cabinet member for me. He's doing a phenomenal. I have literally nothing bad to say about Marco Rubio.
I actually think this shows a huge amount of confidence in Rubio. If you talk to people in the White House, you talk to people who supported Donald Trump, some who were a little skeptical of Rubio because they didn't consider him to necessarily be from the president's wing of this foreign policy thinking. They believe Rubio has done a terrific job. He has been a consistent spokesperson for the president's priorities. He did a great job on the El Salvador issue, did a great job on the student visa issue. He is one of the smoothest communicators that the administration has. It's obvious they have a lot of confidence in him, not just because they gave him Secretary of State, but they put him in at USAID. They've had him do a massive reorg in the State Department.
He's a busy guy.
Now they're giving him this gig. They got confidence in this guy.
That's part of the point.
He's been a star. I've been with the president recently. I've watched him in these meetings. I've seen the way things are working. There is no chaos. But I can tell you this, unlike in the administration you work for, there's no doubt who's running the country, and it's Donald Trump.
Oh, baby. Scott. Yes. Savage. Let's go.
Where they have fired career professionals all throughout the national security apparatus.
Bureaucrats.
You know what I think? Really interesting. We're in a heightened threat environment, Scott.
Exactly.
We are in a very, and we cannot have this type of chaos in our national security.
Chaos.
Well, there's a heightened threat environment.
He's replaced the language that the Republican Party used to speak on this issue. He talks more about peace than he does about war. I mean, ask the Houthis if he's willing to go to war. He will. But he is a man who would prefer to talk about peace first. Baki is exactly right.
I think Scott has just way too much fun because he's telling truth, but he's also trolling them. And just look how upset that they get. And he's just like, he doesn't even say anything remotely bad. People are losing their jobs that were bloated, that weren't doing anything. They weren't showing up to work. How could you? We're in a threat democracy. He's a right. They just lose their minds. They go off pure emotion. He's just sitting there like, yeah, the job should be cut. I mean, you shouldn't be there. If your job was important, you would still be there. That's all it is. If your job was important and you were a value to said company, meaning the government in this case, well, then you would have no issues. And something that's amazing that's happening when you ask Democrats about taxes, for that matter, they claim they don't want to raise taxes, but then they say they only want to raise taxes on rich people. And this is a highlight that was grabbed by MRC of this same conversation taking place with CNN and Scott Jennings.
Now, the biggest bright line, and you're going to see this argued for weeks between the Republicans and the Democrats, other than immigration, which is huge, is on taxes. President Trump wants to cut them, the Democrats want to raise them, and the Republicans need to get behind the commander-in-chief and do it.
No. Democrats do not want to raise taxes.
Yes.
Democrats do not want to raise taxes. I just want to say that right.
Well, they want to raise taxes on rich people.
Well, on rich people. So I mean,
jobs.
so like your friends like Elon Musk and Donald Trump and all of those people.
What people? Give me an idea.
Like your friends, like Elon Musk. They are the ones.
Agree, my friend. But who else? I'm just trying to decide who's rich.
Who's rich? Your friend.
No, this is the big problem for Democrats. You can never define who's rich.
I'm telling you exactly. Your friends.
Because when you come right down to it, what Democrats believe is that anyone who pays taxes is rich enough to have them increased. If you vote against this bill, then the tax cuts will expire, and everybody with a job who pays taxes, their tax will go up. That is a Democrat position, is it not? Right now, the biggest.
We don't want to raise taxes, but we'll raise taxes on the wealthy. But it's the wealthy, the ones that are creating the jobs. It's the wealthy, the ones that are hiring the American worker. It's the wealthy ones that are actually taking their savings, their money, their investments, and putting it out there, that is actually creating more production, more jobs, more goods, more services. But sure, let's tax them even more and then show them what we're going to do with their tax money by going out and purchasing Sesame Street in Iraq, transing mice, putting, whatever the hell out there in the Middle East. Yeah, no, it's a great incentive to innovate. It's a great incentive to show people what you're going to do with their taxes. God, people are idiots. I'm going to start throwing that word around a lot more loosely when it comes to these idiots, because for some reason, again, they can't grasp, they can't wrap their head around all these things. I want to go back to this because, again, this keeps getting posted about the job numbers, and I want to highlight something good, and I don't want to go on an extreme rant and end the show in a bad light. So again, if you're just joining us, the job numbers came out and they far exceeded expectations. Not only that, but the Treasury is doing well. The 2-year Treasury is doing well. The 10-year Treasury is doing well. DOGE is cutting costs left and right, saving the taxpayer money. They're revamping the system over there at the Treasury to save you money. Saved almost $350 million just last week in 7 days alone for you. But, Trump is terrible. Oh, God, he's so bad. We have a lot of incentives and investments that are coming back to America to produce manufacturing goods and services back here, which is going to hire American workers. These jobs are vastly for American workers and not for foreign workers like you saw under Joe Biden. You have Donald Trump securing the border where virtually nobody's coming across anymore, which is going to save you trillions of dollars in the long run. He's getting rid of illegal aliens that are siphoning from the system. Matter of fact, why don't I go to this right here? Illegal aliens racked up a 9-figure bill at Texas hospitals just 1 month. So in just 1 month, they cost more than $120 million in November of 2024 alone. This is in Texas hospitals. This is one state. Okay. This is for 1 month, $120 million. Illegal aliens cost Texas hospitals more than $100 million in just a single month. Brand new data from the Lone Star State shows Texas hospitals are on the hook for $1.21 million bill incurred by illegal aliens across 31,000 visits in November 2024 alone, according to the data. The findings came after Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed an order directing the THHSC to collect and provide quarterly data on the cost of illegal aliens to the state's hospitals and the number of visits from illegal aliens. The first full year of data from this organization will be released in January of 2026. Many of these illegal immigrants are straining the Texas hospital system, which is why Governor Abbott directed the Texas Health and Human Services Commission to be assessing the cost of care. I'd also like to point out that when Donald Trump talked about deporting illegal aliens, there were people that were taking their cell phones when they were going to doctor offices and also to the ER, and they walked in and they were blown away that there was nobody in there. They said, I couldn't get an appointment forever, for months and months. But all of a sudden, when Donald Trump was hired, they walked into the doctor's office. There wasn't a soul to be seen. There wasn't anybody in the waiting room. There was nobody there. It's interesting how things aren't as impacted as they were before when all of a sudden you start deporting people and now they're too scared to go out there, and rightfully so, because you're not supposed to be here in the first place. Why be scared when you did nothing wrong? When a cop pulls me over, God forbid that happens, but I don't have anything to hide. If they wanted to search the car, search the car. Do you want me to get out and do 20 push-ups? I'll get out and do 20. I'll do whatever you say jump. I'll say how high. I got nothing. Maybe I screwed up in some way, shape, or form by speeding or no turn signal. Hell, I don't know. Maybe I did a California roll. But I know I didn't break the law in the sense of doing anything criminal. I maybe made a traffic violation, which probably did if you're pulling me over for it. But they did something wrong, and now they're siphoning from the system. This is just for healthcare. This is just for healthcare. God, just the waste that is happening is insane, and Democrats are all up in arms over it. You want to know why? It's because they don't see it being coming out of their wallets. Because we send the government the money and they do whatever they want with it. Meaning it's already out of our hands. It's already gone. We're not the ones that are doing it. But I guarantee you is if you are the one that was taking the money out of their wallet and then giving it to somebody else, they're going to be like, well, what the hell is that all about? They didn't do anything for that. I busted my butt for that money. Why are you giving it to that guy? Well, let's take one of the rooms from your house and let's just give it to an illegal immigrant. But none of that will happen, right? Because they don't think like that. They don't think like that. Oh, it's somebody else that's being screwed over. Not me. Not me. It'll be somebody else that's getting screwed. Unbelievable. Well, I appreciate hanging out with y'all. I got to go to work now. It is Friday. Remember, check out Spooky Adventures. We do have a second channel called Spooky Adventures, where we explore the paranormal, the unexplained, and the supernatural. We usually do it on Saturdays. It is a fun channel, has nothing to do with politics. I'm very big into all that fun, adventurous stuff. So if you want to join me over there, we go over ghost videos, paranormal, alien stuff, and we check all of that out. Now, there's a new interview that's talking about a whistleblower that's come out, talking about the Immaculate Constellation. And we're going to be going over that probably tomorrow. So it won't be paranormal, but it will be a whistleblower interview going over this alien program. And I guess we got aliens, folks. That's what they're coming out and saying. And if you haven't already, leave us a comment down below. If you want to become a member, we have that. I might as well plug my own stuff. We have memberships for the Bald Brad Show. That helps us out tremendously. I'm only a one-man show here, and it actually does cost a lot of money, believe it or not, to run this hobby. The software is expensive. Everything is expensive. If you're not over at Rumble, head over there because we are going to raid somebody really quick. People really enjoy us raiding them. We have a big following, and you guys really engage in the chat really well. So we're going to raid somebody once again. And let's find out somebody over here that we can do. And I usually try to do small creators. It's on YouTube. It's called Spooky Adventures. It's hard to find. I need to start just adding the link in my description. But it's even hard to find for me. Well, anything that I post is hard to find now because YouTube hates us. Let's see. Who should we raid? Who should we raid? Let's see here. Man, there's just nobody. I always say this. There's nobody that does morning shows like other than us and a few other people. I'm taking my time with it. I want to find somebody that's good, but everybody's like, there's no like single people. There's no like us. I don't know who this guy is. Let's see this. Maybe we won't raid anybody. 2 mics live. Patriot Mike Cook. Is that who it is? Is that you're talking about Patriot Mike? You guys gotta give me the username. Just the 2 mic thing. I don't know who that is. I know we've been there before, but I don't have them. Did you talk about Dr. Mike Schwartz? Is that who you're referring to? We'll go over there. Let's do him. That's what she said. All right. Cool. With that being said, take care, Patriots. Plug the show for us if you can. Tell people to subscribe and follow to the Bald Brad Show. I will be in there watching and listening while I get ready. And I hope you guys have a lovely weekend. I will be back here during the weekend for another episode of the Bald Brad Show. Take care, Patriots.